Colin.
So my topic is based on a book that I've been reading, and this is pertinent for most of our audience, I think, and it's simply about Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, and which one was better. And the reason I ask you guys about this is because, and gals, is because I've been reading a book by Blake J. Harris that Greg provided me for, and it's not out yet. It comes out really soon. It's called Console Wars, Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation.
Is it good?
It's a meaty book. It's about 500 pages long. The text is kind of big though, so you could probably fit it on 300 if they were a little tighter on that. But it's a fantastic book, and it tells the story of Nintendo's dominance of the industry, and Atari's fall, Nintendo's dominance of the industry, and then the first fight that Sega had with Nintendo over the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. So I was just curious what your guys and gals' collective thoughts were about those consoles as a kid, which side you fell on. Sure. You think you ended up being on the right side
of history?
Because to me, I was a Nintendo kid through and through, NES kid, and then a Super Nintendo kid. I didn't have a Genesis until later. I bought a Genesis in high school on eBay. And that's because I found a copy of Castlevania Bloodlines brand new at Toys R Us. I have no idea how I did that. It was like $19.99. So that was like totally awesome. I should have bought them all. They had like 10 of them. I could have gotten a fucking fortune. They were all sealed. But
fortune is a... That's
those. If I kept those today, those would each be worth like $100. So that's pretty good investment. Right. They were like $10 each. So but to me, like Genesis was always like it was like so second rate compared to Super Nintendo. I felt like Super Nintendo was like such a dominant console. Like it's such an amazing console, and it was really close between them. Super Nintendo ended up beating Genesis ultimately, but Genesis outpaced Super Nintendo for a long time.
Well, I think Super Nintendo. Wait, we're talking about Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not the
NES. Obviously is better than Master System. I don't think.
So I always felt like, and this is just a weird part of my psyche, that whatever anyone else has is inherently better than whatever I have. And I don't know why I think that, but my friends, a couple of my friends had Genesis, and I was just envious because it was the allure of the other, you know? Sure. You knew what you had.
The grass is greener.
But then you'd go over and play on their system, and you're like, oh my god, it's
Toe Jam
advanced.
Earl?
It's advanced.
He's running fast. He's got to go fast, some would say. I'm well documented as a Sega kid. Hey, Portillo's here.
There he is.
He's been going this whole show. I'm well documented as a Sega kid. Got the Sega Master System all because it was the first Ghostbuster game I saw, and that was it. No research done by me or my parents.
You just had to have it.
Yep.
It was that addictive, like,
what a fucking blunderous beginning you had.
Well, see, now, stick with me here, because I'm a Sega kid. So then I obviously bought I remember I got the Master System right before kindergarten, somewhere like that, you know what I mean? And then I remember for my first good report card in first grade, the Genesis was brand new, and I was able to finagle my way to get that because I was a brand loyalist. You know what I mean? That's all you knew at the time, because it was warfare out there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you didn't want to take you're not going to switch. That's like switching countries.
You came in, you said, I'm a Sega Master System kid.
It was hardcore.
Like, I don't know what that is. I'm an NES kid, and I'd go watch them play Mario, be like, this is garbage. Who is this kid? Get me Alex Kidd. Blah, 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 blah.
Alex Kidd.
Yeah. But you do.
Alex Kidd was good.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, that was the problem, is you get brainwashed. You're stuck. I remember it was a big deal when I got a Game Boy, because I was like, this is awesome.
You didn't get a Game Gear.
No, I did that. I got that too. I was spoiled.
You were an only child.
I was an only child, and I was the last kid of all the other cousins, I guess, right? So I was just spoiled by everybody. And so yeah, got a Game Gear, had the Game Boy, but it was strictly a Sega kid. And looking back now, a video game journalist, objective, knowing the industry, I had such a raw fucking deal. I bet on such the wrong horse. Like, I missed so much good shit on SNES.
See, I think honestly,
and regular Nintendo.
Part of me, that's part of the reason why I have had such a tough decision on what next gen console to get, because I don't want to make. I have this weird. I just don't want to make the wrong decision. It's like
but now
what
it's
I call
different.
decision
You're old.
paralysis, where you're like, you don't. The decision's so hard to make that you just don't make one. That was kind of that's what I worry about.
Why don't you just buy them both?
Yeah, you have
it's a pretty
money
expensive.
Now.
It is expensive. I hate when people say that, because it is expensive. It's about it with tax, about $1,000.
But if you're just that's, I mean, like, it's different now than when we were a kid. Because when you're a kid, your parents were like, "This is a toy. You get one." You know what I mean? At least, you're not going to get, like, that was part of the loyalty thing. You know what I mean? I remember when N64 was just about to come out, and I asked for that was going to be what I wanted for Christmas or whatever. It might have been my birthday, and my mom's like, "You sure you don't want the Sega Saturn? Like, you've been a Sega kid this whole time." And I was like, "You're right, Mom. I won't give up on Sega." And it was like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Really? You didn't even have an N64?
No. I came around in the N64. I got an N64. That did happen.
Did you have a PlayStation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all that really matters.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I got on track. I figured it all out in the end. You know what I mean? But, like, I look back and, like, the amount of awesome like genre defining video games I missed. You know what I mean? Not to have an NES, not to have an SNES, to have to come to everything late, for Ocarina of Time to be my first Zelda, and like, you know, like do a similar thing of like my friends were playing Zelda on their 64s, and I was like, whatever.
Even I played Zelda.
I'm gonna play Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
On my Saturn.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep playing Independence Day. Thank you very much.
Did you get the Dreamcast?
No,
I got the Dreamcast.
Like Sega Saturn was it, where it was finally like the wake up call. I was jarred from the Matrix.
Yeah.
Where I was like, you guys know what the fuck you're doing. Fuck you. I can't even play these games. I gotta
took
get a
the blue
memory
pill?
card expansion RAM thing for the back to play video games. Get out of here.
Lex,
Yeah.
growing up.
Growing up, I had NES.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did the girl you had
And a
one with
Game
Ellie?
Boy. And then like Genesis and stuff was over at my cousin's house. They had like every console. And like
Sure.
going over there was awesome.
Did you actually play games when you were growing up?
Yeah, well,
Not a
sort
lot,
of.
I mean, just casually.
Yeah, when my cousins were really hardcore gamers,
Mm-hmm.
and then in my household, like they were super strict. My parents, so
Your parents are so strict.
yeah. So like, I think I've told you this story before. The reason I got into gaming was because my dad worked at a bank, and one of his clients was Namco, and they would give him video games like to take home. So that's how I got a console, and I was like, this is awesome. So, you know, I played like Tiny Toon Adventures. What else did I play? Bassmasters Classic was my first game ever.
That's a great game.
And I just was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm playing video games. Like, I just thought it was the coolest thing. And, like, just playing that game. And I didn't even really understand how to play it. Like, just get the jig.
That's still me today.
And you're just like, what am I doing? Like, getting it into the... Have you ever played this game?
No.
Oh.
You know Bassmasters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Bassmasters.
And so that's, like, what got me into gaming. And then I remember just going with my... Like, I used to buy my games at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Costco.
Just because, like, my parents didn't know. Like, you know, my sister's, like...
Well, that was the thing. Like, you
girliest
didn't
girl.
have the internet.
No.
You didn't
Yeah.
know what
Right.
was good, what was bad. You took a chance.
Box art.
You literally
Yep.
judged a book by its cover.
You flipped it over, you
looked
looked
at
at
it.
4
Yeah.
screenshots, and you're like, all right, that seems like it might
Looks
be
good
cool.
to me.
Or I
This
would
is
go to
worth the
Costco
$30 or
and-
however much it was back then. I don't even remember how much were NES games.
They were a lot. They were 40, 50, or 60.
They were, like,
depending on the
The,
memory
like-
and
Yeah, I
stuff.
always felt guilty for asking for them. My mom
Yep.
just like always constantly made me feel guilty for
Well,
asking.
I always tell the story of like when we were at Toys R Us in I forget what we were buying or whatever I was getting some toy, and my mom pulled out a credit card, and I broke down in tears. And I'm like, are we broke? Like, do we not have money? I don't need this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
'cause you do feel at some point that
You're a
there does start
sensitive
to be
man.
that.
You're such a sensitive man.
Well, I was always afraid of us going bust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know,
Were
the
you
thing-
guys close to it growing up?
No, not at all. Like, and that's the whole thing. Like, but like you don't know that
Just a
as a
very
kid.
sensitive man.
Here's the thing. I
So
mean,
fear of pooping and fear of going broke.
but I mean, here's the thing to think about as far as
drives
this. And
Greg
I know
Miller?
Colin and I have talked about before,
things.
right? Is the fact that my dad was in a union. And he was an operating engineer, heavy
okay.
crane operator. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
He'd work for years and then be off for a few months while they
Sure.
the next job cycles in. And to a kid, you think he doesn't have a job. He
Yeah.
has no job. You know what I mean? We're gonna be living out of tin cans or something eventually.
Yes.
And so that was the concept I had trouble wrapping my head around as a kid. That no, he's fine. This is how it works. This is
Yeah.
how the job works. You know what I mean?
That never factored into anything when I grew up. I had
me
no idea my parents' finances growing up.
Oh, me neither.
Well, I didn't know they were like rich or poor, but I mean, I you know what I mean? Like when your dad's home, you're like, oh God, there's no. I
That's
only
true.
understand it from like
My dad was
TV.
one of those like
Yeah.
classic Mad Men style dads where he'd come home from work super late, he'd leave super early, and then when he got home from work, he would eat dinner with us potentially, or
Mm-hmm.
we'd already eaten, chances are. Then he would go up to the office and work more.
Oh wow.
That's what he was, yeah.
Wow.
Because he did, like, he was always doing something like
He's
a
like
side
in a
business.
public office, wasn't he?
He used to work for the county of Orange. He was like a public administrator, but then he'd come home and do like real estate stuff because the family at the time owned some real estate interests.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he would, and also I think he just didn't really want to interact that well with my mom. So I think he would come home and he'd be like, "Hey," I'm like, "What's up, Dad?" And so my mom would always like, I remember my mom would always threaten us with my dad. She would be like, "When your father comes home,
Yeah.
he's gonna be so mad." And my mom was always the crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother and I would be like, we would just be praying for him to walk through the door and bring some semblance of like normalcy and sanity into the room, lest we get another wooden spoon broken over our asses.
Yeah.
Because my mom used to have these amazing wooden spoons that she would use to stir the pasta sauce.
Oh yeah, my
And
mom.
she would-
a sauce.
She would literally just like, it was like fucking Phantom Menace. She would just reach out for it and it would just appear in her hand and she would crack that thing over you. This is before like child abuse was really a thing,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
My mom used to chase us with it. My sister
yeah.
and I.
All
She
over
would
the
never
place.
hit us, but she would chase us. Like put the.
Oh yeah, my
Fear
parents,
of God in
my
us.
mom would hit me when I did.
Oh, yeah.
I deserved it.
I deserved it.
I think it's also
100%.
a very hyper Italian thing to have like fucking
Taking
kinda
wood
like,
to ass.
Yeah.
100%.
So my mom's
boots to
Puerto
ass.
Rican, and she grew up in the projects. So like
In New York?
Yeah. And like,
Was she still
the
Jenny
Bronx?
from the block?
she is the original Jenny from the block.
She the Bronx?
No. The West Side.
Manhattan.
Yeah. So, and my mom used to be like totally a gangster. So she had like long black hair, and she used to get into like street fights with people and like with girls, and she would tie razor blades into her hair.
No
so when they would
fucking
go
way.
to pull it, they would like cut their hands.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, whoa. That's when I knew. I was like, my mom, like, I'm not going to mess with her anymore.
See how terrifying her parents are? Her mom does that and her dad's a banker. What the hell does that mean? No one knows that. He works for the mob. He works for the Greek mob.
Well, I liked how you sounded much worse when you're like,
But my dad grew
the
up in
family
Brooklyn,
owned some real
so-
estate interests.
So you're Greek and Puerto Rican.
Greek and Puerto Rican. And so my mom, because she grew up poor, like even to this day, like my dad makes like a really good living. You know, she still is such like a penny pincher. So when we used to go to like stores, I'd be like, "Can I get this? Can I get?" She's like, "Well, do you need it?" Like,
Yeah.
do you? She would always like put that.
You're like, I don't really need it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wearing the
yeah,
same pants
I
for the
guess
ne- for
I guess
15 years. You're like, I
can
still
go
fit into
play
them.
outside.
I starved myself.
I was
I
oblivious.
just play outside instead of Nintendo.
Here's the sleeve. Like,
Look at
don't chase it.
It's nature.
I was oblivious to my parents' finances when I was a kid, and I kind of feel bad about that in a way. Like, we grew up well, and we had a big house on Long Island and ground pool and all that kind of stuff, but it was normal for like my dad was a fireman in New York City, so like he would do 3-day tours, and so he would never be home like ever. Like that was normal to us, but that was like the sacrifice that you had to go through to like pay for this fucking exorbitant kind of house that we lived in, that we ended up selling like later when everyone went to college. And I kind of took for granted, like I'm of two minds with that, because my parents like made me work like and mow the lawn and clean the house and everything for like my allowance. They never gave me like any money. But then I think about it on the other sense, like I played hockey all year. I was a goalie, so like and I was growing constantly. My equipment, like people were asking, like, how much was your goalie equipment at one time? Like my goalie gear was like $3,000 or $4,000 at one time.
Whoa.
So like,
shut up.
yeah, like my leg pads.
That's way more than my band camp dues.
What about your
like-
shadow boxing?
Like my leg
Shadow
pads, my
boxing's
leg pads
free.
are like $1,000 or $1,200 by themselves, hand stitched, like really nice. I wear Brian's pads for all the hockey fans out there. They're Canadian, they're hand stitched, and and you grow and you have to get new stuff or whatever. And plus you have to pay all the dues. My parents were driving me all over New England, even up to like in Quebec and Ontario. Like I took all
They're
that for
good
granted, so that
parents,
wasn't like
yeah.
real money, but that was actually like a lot of money. And
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
Time.
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I actually told my parents like a couple years ago, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I didn't really understand when I'd like go like, I need a new glove. I need a new catching glove. And they'd be like, are you sure? And I'm like, it kind of hurts. I'm like playing, at a higher level now. They're shooting a lot harder. It kind of hurts. And they're like, all right. And then that's $500.
Ugh.
And then my hand would grow 18 months later, and they'd get another one. And then
Jesus.
and then they'd be like, can we, they'd try to get rid of the old ones. But some of the stuff I'd be like, I don't want to get rid of. I'm really nostalgic about that kind of stuff. Like I want to keep my old gear.
You don't want to take it to Play It Again Sports and trade
Oh
them? Yeah.
no, yeah. Like I want it. The only thing I ever kept was my blocker, which is your stick hand thing. I kept using the same blocker for like 5 years because I was like really OCD about it. But other than that,
See,
I feel bad about that kind of stuff now.
when I was in band,
Yeah, you're
I was
I'm
like-
a fucking asshole.
I started playing trumpet when I was in 5th grade, and I decided that I wanted to be in marching band because it just seemed a lot easier than sports. I was right, but I chose trumpet because of the movie Mo Better Blues, which is a Spike Lee movie starring Denzel Washington. He played trumpet, and I thought it was cool.
And he was the coolest.
And so my mom bought me a beginner's trumpet. A beginner's trumpet is like, it's bigger and there's a little bit like less functionality, and it's easier to get a good sound out of it. But I always wanted the silver trumpet. That was like when I knew that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be real when I get the silver trumpet, because it was like, so it was way more expensive. But that's what all the pros used. Like no one used brass trumpets, so always silver trumpet. But they were like $3,000. And I would ask my mom every season. I'd be like, Mom, it's real. Like, this is my thing. I'm into it. I've been doing it for like. She's like, well, you do a couple more years. Finally, I was like a senior. I think a junior or senior in high school, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, like more. And she was just like, dude, get the hint. It's not happening. Like we're not spending any more
And
money
you
on
stop
this.
doing it.
You're not good enough to make it as a musician. It's not gonna happen. Like you're just gonna get to college. And
Trumpet's an awesome.
She was right.
That is a good instrument.
Oh, trumpet was the bomb.
Did you
It's
have
a
the, did you have
fascinating
the plunger
shit.
to put over the front?
I didn't have the plunger. I had the Harmon mute, which is what makes that sound that you're probably associating with the plunger.
Sure.
And you also have just a straight mute. There's a straight mute, a Harmon mute, and the Harmon mute's that.
Can you
jazz
still play?
sound.
If we had a trumpet right here, could you play something?
100%.
Do you ever practice or anything?
No,
Please
because
say
you
you
can't.
have one.
In San Francisco,
Funny you bring that up.
No, in San Francisco, it's you're just gonna piss everyone off.
Yeah,
I thought
sure.
about keeping it at the office and practicing in the studio where it's a little bit more soundproof.
No,
we
go
cheaped
practice
out
on
on the
the roof.
studio, so it doesn't really matter.
Go
so.
practice on the roof.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone would love that.
Play taps every day for 4 hours.
Fuck, that was the other thing, was that when I started playing an instrument, I chose the drums when I was a kid, which is also the most expensive instrument by far. And I was like, I played saxophone and piano a little bit too when I was younger, and then I just moved straight up to drums. And and then again, like I got my first kit and stuff like that, and I'm like, I need a drum kit, and like.
Yeah, trumpet once you buy it.
I was like, fuck, man. Like, what am I like? I really was like
so
bankrupting my parents.
Yeah.
But it wasn't intentional. I was like, I want to play hockey, which is like a total. It's true. Like, and I hate to say it, like, because hockey is prohibitive, like, for a lot of people. Like, it's really expensive.
Because it's a rich man's sport.
It's like you have to have some money to play, and that sucks. And like, you don't realize that when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You can't just like kind of lace up your shoes and play. Like, you have to get ice time, which is really expensive. You have to buy skates. Like, my skates by the time I was in high school were like $700. Like, you know, I wore goalie skates, Bauer goalie skates. And you know,
sponsor the show, Bauer.
But even if you're playing out, even if you're playing out, you have to have nice skates. Your sticks are nice. You probably have a really nice, stick shaft, and you have to buy new blades, and you go through tape like crazy, and all this kind of stuff. Well, so, yeah. So I unintentionally picked these like expensive fucking things, and then so I wanted to play music, and I wanted to play hockey, and then I wanted to be a goalie, and then I wanted to play drums.
Yeah,
so
you couldn't be the normal.
Sorry,
dude with
mom
just
and
the
dad.
Hat. You had to be the guy that needed the extra big pads.
Yeah, and then I remember when I got my first goalie helmet, and that's like the most expensive part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I used to wear like a regular player's helmet with like a little thing on the bottom, like Chris Osgood used to wear. You guys don't know who that is. And I finally got like a nice goalie helmet, and because other people had like awesome paint jobs in their helmets and stuff like that, and that shit's like mad expensive.
Like,
What was your paint
Luke
job? Was it like a
right?
skull that was on fire?
No, I never got like a super nice one. I had like paint on it, but like just like a little design. But I actually had like a shamrock painted on the back of my helmet.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Mine would be two-faced. Mine would be my face, and then on one half, and then the other half would just be the Indiana Jones melting away, just skull.
Greg saw a goalie helmet he liked the other day. We were watching the Rangers play.
Yeah.
I hate the fucking Rangers, but
They got dope helmets.
They got good, clean shafts.
But it's Ghostbusters. It's all Ghostbusters too.
Good, nice, clean shafts.
Lundqvist got pulled. Their starting goalie, their backup goalie, who I don't even know who the hell he is, went, and it's all Ghostbusters themed his helmet. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, see, for me, like milking my parents of money enough, thinking about it, the video games, for the most part, I always talk about, especially when we talk about used games, right? Like, I traded everything. I tried to lessen the blow on them just so I make sure I get the quantity I want. But I still got a lot of games from them. But really, it was comics. And I remember
comics like the biggest money suck for a kid.
And that was the thing, is like that was like my dad and I's bonding time. He'd pick me up from school on Wednesday, and we would go to the comic shop and buy comics. And I remember it like there was no like restriction. They didn't put any restriction on it. So the pull list grew and grew and grew. And I remember at one point I was getting $50 doses of comics every Wednesday. You know what I mean? And like feeling bad about it. But then it wasn't like my dad would be like, it's an investment. You know what I mean? Like at the time, thinking probably like,
were nice.
Yeah, but that is an investment. Look, now you're just like super into them. And
well, yeah, exactly. Like,
so,
and I don't, but I think to him it was an investment of time, like us together, right? Because we've always had trouble connecting.
Do you still associate?
Oh, sure.
With him?
Oh, my God. Every time I come back from Comic-Con or something, I talk to him about it because it reminds me of when he would take me. We'd get 3-day passes for Wizard World Chicago, which was the Chicago Comic-Con originally, right? And we would go there, and my dad doesn't give a flying fuck about comics, does not know much about comics. And I would, for 3 days, this is what is so crazy now, especially with our lives going to panels and being on panels and stuff. I never went to a fucking panel. I would go and troll the floor for books and back issues for 3 days straight.
Wow.
My dad just following behind, chilling out, talking to me
That's
about
awesome.
comics and crap. Yeah, it was awesome, but it was like so crazy to think about, you know what I mean?
Going through those old boxes.
Yep, long boxes, looking for stuff, trying to convince him to buy like the platinum Death of Superman thing. It was like $500 and now it's worth like jack shit.
I don't know what it is about me. I have this weird like, if I know I can't afford to get into something, I just don't take an interest in it. I used to love going to the comic shop. There was one in the Kane Crest Center. It's my wife. Don't worry about it. Kane Crest Center.
It was a picture.
Let's call her.
No,
it wasn't a picture.
She would kill you. She'd love it, but she'd kill you. And I forgot what the name of the comic shop was, but I used to want all these comics, and I was like, dude, I just like, where do you start? And they're like $3 a piece.
Yeah.
And I only had $20 worth of allowance, and that $20 was generally 15 to 16 that was going toward a movie that weekend, a giant tub of popcorn just for me, and a giant Coke just for me, and probably a trip to the candy store that was also located there that would also cost about $2 to $3 worth of. I used to get like the king size Reese's peanut butter cup because I like to go salty, savory, salty, savory.
Like,
It's not a big
I
deal.
can get into that.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I know what you're talking about. That I mean, because that's what I would think about. And I had friends who'd been into comics and fallen out of comics because, like,
So you thought
It
you
just
see,
got
you're
too
not fat.
expensive.
yeah, their parents were like, no,
See,
you got to pay
I
for
feel
your own
like-
habit.
For me, so we would go to Greece a lot for like summers and stuff, and so I'd be
Just
like,
like Mamma
oh,
Mia.
I need what?
Just like Mamma Mia, that movie.
Yeah, just like Mamma Mia. So we'd go, and my dad would take us to the bookstore in the airport and be like, pick out a book. You have a long flight ahead. This was before like any of the cool stuff was in the planes.
Ah.
And he'd be like, don't you want a comic book? But my dad's, a kid also. Like, I'm first generation here, so he didn't know. He's from Brooklyn. Like, has no idea. So I'm like, oh yeah, a comic book. That's really cool. Like, because I was like a real tomboy growing up.
Yeah.
So I'd pick up like all the Archies. And like, that's what I thought was like cool.
Yeah, that's cutting edge comics.
So
yeah.
I sort of felt like,
So you
I
had
didn't
growing
really
up, by
have
the way, your options were Archie, Spawn, and like Spider-Man, and you're like that Archie.
Archie.
That's edgy. That kid's talking
Was he
because
gonna
probably because
pick
he was
Betty
rich.
or Veronica?
He was rich, so it probably meant that he was into cocaine. That's what it was,
exactly
right?
what it was, yeah.
Archie loves it.
So I felt like, I never got
I do talk
guided
about it a
into
lot,
a
don't I?
direction
Oh,
where,
sure.
Gotta stop.
where you could like really invest.
Yeah.
So, and then going to Greek school, no one knew.
You went to Greek school?
I went to Greek
Did you have to wear a
school.
uniform?
Yeah.
Describe it.
I went to Catholic school.
I had to wear a uniform.
Did
I
you wear
did.
your- Describe it.
Oh, okay. So I'll describe my uniforms because it's not
Collared
nearly.
shirt.
Mine was brown corduroy pants and a brown shirt that was
Stop it.
like it was like cardboard. You had to put it on with your arms straight up. You couldn't actually finagle. Like it had to go on just one way or it wouldn't work because it was made out of the world's cheapest material.
I know that
Yeah.
material.
You know what I'm
well.
talking about?
I know that
Mine
material.
was like that.
Like it
like,
doesn't
It's like
breathe.
polyester. Yeah.
In high school and then also when I went to grade school, junior high, all that stuff, like it was like there was like a monopoly where it was like one stores where you bought your uniforms for them and they were
Dennis.
garbage. Yeah, Dennis.
Dennis.
Yeah,
Dennis uniforms.
Yeah. And they were the starchiest motherfuckers you ever wore.
Sponsor this podcast. Game
Starch
over
this.
Greggy.
We'll
Dennis
all wear them next
uniforms.
week.
Dennis uniforms, the starchiest motherfuckers. Please sponsor this podcast. We're
yeah.
available.
That would be awesome.
And that's why I remember when, I got out and went to like college or whatever, and like people were like, oh, you went to Catholic school, it must have been so hot seeing girls in like skirts and stockings forever. And I was like, no, like, was it? I don't, what? And like you get removed from the situation, like, oh, not every person dresses like that or does that. You know what I mean? That was the thing you took for granted. You didn't realize
yeah.
that not.
When I got to college, though, because I wore a uniform my whole life, when I got to college and it was like free dress, I was like, what the hell do I
Jeez,
wear?
You both went to a religious school up until college.
Yeah.
Wow, man!
I only went to Catholic school for a little while. Yeah,
I went till third grade, and my parents, because you had to pay to go to Catholic school.
Yep.
And my parents were like, "Do you really like going here?" And I was like, "I hate going here." And they're like, "So you can," because we had a new, I guess, grade school opening up in our neighborhood. And my mother, God bless her, is like, she's the kind of person that like, if it's on sale or if it's convenient, she will get it in bulk. And this thing opened up, and she was like, "I am not driving all the way down, like 20-minute drive, when I can drive in 5 minutes." So she's like, "Do you want to go to this Catholic school anymore?" And I was like, "I hate it there."
Yeah.
And I don't believe in it. I had this really hard, honest adult conversation with my mom where I was like, I don't believe in this religion. I don't get anything out of it. When we go to church on Sundays, I'm not really into it. And honestly, that school is brand new, and I think it'd be really cool to like join it with everyone else that's a kid who's joining it for the first time and make all new friends, because I'm not connecting with anyone. And my mom's like, I can't really argue with that. Like, you're
Can't
okay.
refute any of these points.
Yeah, you good. So yeah, I ditched out at third grade. How long did you go for?
I went from 6th to 8th, so only middle school.
Oh, okay. So
I went to
the high
public.
school
I went to
experience.
public elementary school and public high school. Yeah.
Well, I even went to a private college.
Where'd you go to
But
college?
you have to wear uniforms?
No.
I went to a private college.
You went to
too, but
SC,
not-
didn't you?
USC, yeah.
Oh, but that's not like,
No.
that wasn't like religious. You didn't go to
No,
like
no, it's not.
I went to a
religious.
private college. I shouldn't have gone to a private college because I'm paying out the ass for it.
Yeah, I went to UC Irvine. Paid that one off a while back.
My
Paying
dream-
for it. I'll be paying
I-
for that for the rest of my life though,
I
with no
dream-
connections.
This is the funny thing, is that all I paid for was my room and board. My tuition was free because my mom went there. The tuition in Northeastern is $47,000 a year. So like I didn't pay any of that. Like
That's awesome.
I paid only for room and board, and I still owe some I've been paying it for 7 years. I still owe like $38,000.
Jesus, what did you
Jeez.
stay in a mansion with a Ferrari? Were you Magnum PI? Were you staying in Hawaii?
Him and Ramon's
You
doing
and
so
Ramon.
Me and Ramon, yeah, everyone I know is like, it's just like, fuck, man, like it's worth it. Top 50 school, Northeastern's a good school. You should go there, but
what?
make sure it's paid for, completely because when you're that's a good lesson when you're 17, 18, 19 and then you're signing these like things
Loans,
and it's like
yeah.
and you're like whatever, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna go get drunk with my friends now. And then I remember when I got my first bill and I saw how much I paid, what I owed when I was 22 when I started working at IGN, I started fucking crying. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, like why didn't I do this smarter? I should have just, my mom lived in Boston, like a block away. You could have just I could have just lived with her.
Did you live at home when you went to college? No, you had your own place.
No, my dad was awesome. He paid my whole way, and
Oh yeah, no,
I thank him the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't happening for me.
So my parents
That's where
did
he
the same
saved.
thing.
I got Archie Comics, but I got to get my college paid for.
That's pretty amazing, especially SC because that's expensive too.
Yeah.
Did your sister go there too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know if it was. I don't know. I often reflect on my experience at Northeastern, and I'm like, it was a good experience. I met a lot of great people, like Ramon. Like a lot of my good friends. Ramon's my best friend. Like I met a lot of great people there. I got a great education, and my diploma is worth a great deal because that school is really prestigious. But did I really need it? You know what I mean? Like I often think about that. Like maybe I should have just stayed in New York and went to like a state school, like a SUNY school. And maybe I'd still be in the same place I'm in now.
I don't know. I think you. I mean, if you like who you are, I think that's what.
I do like who I am, and I like saying I went to a good school. But I'm like, is it worth the fucking complete financial?
I don't know, Lex.
anguish?
Was it worth it going to SC?
I mean, I don't know. I'm a huge advocate for education for college. I think it's super important, not only for. I mean, going back or hitting your point, like, doesn't matter which school. I mean, there is a sense of pride when you can say, like,
yeah, SC is like a huge sense of pride.
But I also think, like, even if you don't, like, it's not a huge deal. Like, it's not, you know, I don't know. I don't think it matters, but I do think that it teaches you something more than just, you know, the books and the education. Like, you learn socially so much. Like, I feel like I can be put into any social situation and meet people, find friends, and kind of, like, be a social person, which I think is really important, that I think a lot of kids nowadays lack.
I agree. And I think college, moreover, my mom always says, my mom's a scholar, she works in a college in Virginia now, and she always says it's not about like what we're teaching you, it's about like proving that you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, like that you can like just do 4 years of like what is told of you.
Whatever you gotta do.
Yeah.
What you gotta do.
The
Yeah.
mental
like,
discipline to get through
Yeah,
it.
it's
Sure.
like she's like, once you get to graduate school, then like you're really studying in depth what you need to know. But like this is like saying like I can do it. I can do all these different disciplines
and navigate through it all really well, because you're thrown all these different classes that you're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to take?
So I'll tell you this because you dodged my question, which is okay.
What?
Don't worry about it. As the only person sitting at the table that went to a school that's not particularly great to hail from, I'm jealous of all three of you.
What? You went to a UC school?
No, I went to UC Irvine. It's a great school. I'm not saying it's a bad school, but no one that went to UC Irvine like gets into arguments over whether or not their school was better than anyone else's, like people from USC do, or Mizzou, or Eastern.
I wish I went to Northwestern.
I was like, what, Eastern?
Chicago?
Yeah, that's Northwestern's is like number 2 or number 3 in the country. Northeastern's like number 40 something. I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when you go to SC, there's such a point of pride from the alumni and the lineage of that school. You just don't have that at UCI. And so like no matter what, it's just that's one extra thing that you're like, I got that. I went to USC.
Yeah,
I had that cool
but
experience.
like I said, like that's a sense of pride. But
Yeah.
but what is that? Like what is pride?
It's-
Like,
what is anything,
you know,
right?
What
It's
do I
like-
have that over you?
You got a
know?
sports team that's cool. You can get to watch games with people and be like, I went there, I experienced those games.
Well, there's the
in the
Mizzou
seats,
Mafia.
you know.
What?
Mizzou Mafia. Ever heard of it?
No.
Little journalism thing. We all get each other jobs and help when we need to.
Really?
How Ryan Gettys got hired at IGN because I worked at IGN. So then when we needed somebody, I put it on.
That's actually how Sean Finnegan got hired at our school. Or not our school, excuse me, at IGN. Also, because I saw on his resume that he went to Irvine, and I was like,
fuck it, done.
I was like,
Book
he's
him.
got really relevant experience,
Guy's
but I had a
total
bunch.
asshole and likes hiking, but whatever, book him.
No, I called him. I straight up called him the first question. I was like, dude, how was Irvine? And he's like, oh, you went to Irvine too? And I was like, oh, you're pretty much hired. Because I needed someone. I needed it to pay off once.
For
someone.
I don't think
For
I've ever
someone.
used it. Like, oh, you went to SC? Cool. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not using it right. I don't know.
I don't think it's ever.
You're
I
not
don't think
using
it's
it
really
right.
helped me. I think it's like, well, he maybe he's smart or something like that, but I don't think it helped me get a job or land anything. To me, it's like you were saying, like it is an experience. Like I often think about the uniqueness of going to a school like Northeastern. Like I always say, like it's a big school. It's in Boston, but it's we always say like Greg went to a school that was like really prestigious with sports and stuff like that. Which like I kind of envy in a sense. Like I went to a school that like where we really cared about hockey, and that's fucking weird. And we've talked about that on this podcast before. Like we really love hockey, and like that's not to have like a hockey school, like where everyone goes to hockey games instead of going to a football game, is like weird and rare, and that's cool. But I often wonder about what it would have been like to go to a school like Mizzou, where it would have been like we had this football team and like things that were like a little more outward facing, like, or a basketball team that people cared about. I like those kinds of things that I think are pretty interesting that I think I might have missed in college. But at the same time, like living in Boston for 5 years was an interesting experience. It's a fucking complete winter hellhole. And you know, you meet good people. Like I'm not sorry for the people I met and the experiences I had. And if that's the way I had to have them, then that's totally cool with me. You know, Boston's a great city for young people to live in. I can't imagine living there now, but when I was 20, 19, 21, 22,
but that's
fucking
the thing.
A, man, that was the place.
Yeah, come on now. Like, Boston's a college town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Irvine,
Like,
not so much.
That's true.
Irvine's
LA.
a really cool town to raise your 2.5 kids with a white picket fence. I'm not discrediting it at all because it's a great area. It's very clean, very upscale. But yeah, man. I mean, I would have. You know, I don't have any regrets, but I wish I would have gone to school in LA or
Where you can't walk a block because you like are in Compton?
I would have been fine with that. I'm tough.
Oh,
I played
like, whoa,
trumpet.
that dude shadowboxing, get
Yeah.
out of his way.
watch out for him.
All I want to do.
He'll throw that sauce at you that makes you shit on the side of the road.
I mean, SC is
Scurry
great.
away.
Like, I had a great time in their film school, which I'm assuming you would have gone to.
I would have liked to have.
Yeah.
I think I would have squandered
it's
it, though.
amazing, and the
I was kind of lazy in
sources-
college.
Resources are really amazing, but, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't think you would have gotten that much of a difference. We've talked about this before.
We
I don't
have.
think you would have gotten that much
there's-
of a difference.
that's-
You say, like, oh, the alumni list. If you called any of those assholes up right now, like, who's really going to help you? Like,
Probably
the fact
no
that you
one.
got help or that you helped someone and you too, like, that's amazing. If some SC kid came to me, I'd be like,
Tough it out, kid.
yeah, like, I'm sorry. Like,
get
I had to
nothing from
hustle
me.
my ass to get here. Like,
They barely let me eat
I'll
oatmeal
do what
here.
I can do, but
I'm so
You
busy
know?
I can't eat
I
oatmeal.
can't even eat this oatmeal.
I
That's how
finished
busy
my
they keep
oatmeal
me.
at 5:30. I
Like,
bought it at 9 a.m.
yeah. I mean, I feel bad, but
That
I
is
didn't
what it
ask
is.
anyone for help, so it's like,
Yeah,
Sure.
you gotta work. You gotta get things yourself. But I often say, like, people tweet at me sometimes about, you know, college and about, you know, they're like, you know, some people are like, I got into Northeastern, I applied to Northeastern, that's great. Some people are like, where should I go? And they'll give you like different schools. And I'm always like, go where you can get the best education, right? Like, but don't really, honestly, like, if you're 17, 18, thinking about this right now, don't be foolish. Think about the money. Like, just really think about it. Like, don't make the same mistake maybe I did or Alexis did. Or, well, Alexis' parents paid for it, but like where you think, like, where it's
Lucky.
not.
thank you.
But where it's not. But where she was even saying like the money's significant and like.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, I just was like, you know, it was cool and it was worth it, but it's because I knew I had the experience that I enjoyed there in hindsight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really be mindful of that, because when you get out of college and you're 22 or 23 and you get fucking hit like a ton of bricks with a $500,
Yeah.
$600, $700 a month payment for 20
God, so much when you're young.
years, you know?
It's a lot now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just be careful with that kind of stuff. Like, don't just think about the whole picture. If you're gonna go to a private school, especially, like, just think about the whole picture. You can get some really great education at public schools too. There are a lot of public schools that are better than private schools, and you can get scholarships and all sorts of things. Like, don't be lazy. I probably could have done it better and smarter.
And ask
So,
yourself,
like,
do you need books? Because I didn't use books my junior or senior year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how'd you
I
get
just
away
went
with
to
that then?
class. I went to every class, took really great notes, and there's like 2 or 3 questions on the test that like you need from the book, and it's like, all right, I'll sacrifice those for $2,000 in my pocket.
oh my god, being a
Wow.
history major was the worst. I still go to my mom's. She has all my books. So I left all my shit with her when I moved here, because I moved here right after I graduated college. And so I like go through all my old books sometimes. I have so many books, dude. Like,
And how many of those books have you opened?
Oh, I read parts of probably all of them, but like never,
Yeah,
like,
parts.
but like rarely all the way through. And it's like I have like a whole shelf of like Nazi Germany books, a whole shelf of
It's
about
like-
That's what they'll
revolution,
find
Wow.
when it all
A
goes
whole-
down. The serial killer.
a whole shelf of World
He
War
was
II.
such a nice boy.
Nazi
It's just like-
Germany books.
That's the other thing. Like, consider, man, if you want to go into history, that's cool. Half of all history PhDs never find a job in the field, and you're going to be spending a ton of money,
In the
a
field.
ton of money on books.
What do
Yeah.
historians? Is that what they do?
They go write about video games. And speaking of, I think we've come to the consensus that the SNES was better than the Genesis.
Yeah, we never talked about this. Well, let me let me. I love how every topic didn't actually end up
It
being.
was
Yeah,
great.
we derailed
This
fast.
is great. This is
But-
what the show's about, man.
But just to reiterate, I wanted to say the book again is called Console Wars: Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation by Blake Harris. Comes out May 13th. It's excellent. I really, really highly recommend that you buy it. And a lot of people have been asking me about some of the other books that they can read. Just go on Amazon. There's some good books on there. Masters of Doom and Game Over are the books you should start with.
You should
if
start a
wanna read
wish
about it.
list on Amazon.
Yeah, that's
so
not a
people
bad
can follow you.
That's not a bad idea. Game history is robust. There's a lot of good stuff to read about it, and we're getting to a place now where it's being really appreciated as a scholarship. And I really like books like this. It's very well written.
I was gonna say we'd put the link to this book, Console Wars, in the description of the video. If you do the wish list thing, we'll put that in there. People can go find a whole bunch of stuff. So that's your job. After you sleep off all these old fashions.
Which were delicious. Thank you.
Yeah, you nursed yours.
Yeah,
you sure you liked it? You don't have to lie.
I'm afraid I'm going to get up and then the Uber ride home.
Can you roll on your window? I must have eaten some seafood.
Sorry, I gotta stop doing
You got
that.
windshield wipers on your glasses.
Yeah.
No better.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Game Over Greggy show. Each and every week, four best friends gather around this
You made it the
table,
whole
each
time.
bringing a random topic
The whole
of
time.
conversation discussed for your amusement. If you like that, go download the MP3. The full show goes live on Friday at GameOverGreggy.bandcamp.com. Then, if you don't feel like giving us $1, we totally are chill with that over on YouTube. That's youtube.com/GameOverGreggy. You can get each topic broken out as a video day by day until that next Friday we post the entire video as a video for your enjoyment video.
Video.
Buy t-shirts. Go to districtlines.com/GameOverGreggy. We talked about Sean Finnegan again. He's apparently got his job through some nepotism.
He did.
He also likes hiking. Buy that shirt.
He does.
You can get that Scarpino shadow boxing shirt.
Just like Dalton Payne. Awesome name, by the way.
Oh.
Dalton Payne 95 bought both shirts. He bought the Game Over shirt and the Colin for President shirt.
We have about 7 shirts up now, so you're not allowed to say he bought both shirts and act like that's all of them.
These are the two classics.
The classics, the original run.
Yeah, this is the original
If you
one.
watched 2 weeks ago, when I got the
Oh,
oil
that's not
all
how that
over the
works.
Oreogasm shirt, that did ruin the shirt. That did not wash out.
That is not shocking, but you dried it probably, so you could have.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Don't dry the shirt until you stir the stains out of it.
But
Am I
ladies and
correct on
gentlemen,
this?
Greg Miller is one of the 3 richest kings in San Francisco and gets his laundry sent out, and he's not going to leave a note.
And
on
then the
one
lady's
shirt.
going to come in at 5:30 in the
She's
morning.
a nice lady.
Greg sends his laundry out, and then the woman comes at the fucking strangest times in
8
literally
a.m.
5.
She comes at 8 a.m. every
You
other
have
Friday.
you keep really abnormal hours for a man your age, though.
What do you mean?
You wake up at like
8
5 in the
a.m.?
morning.
He's like Morty Seinfeld. He's like
You are, man.
Morty Seinfeld.
You
That's
are.
awesome.
Because you're
I'm
always
going
like.
to fucking dinner at
And
4:30.
but then he does that thing at like 6 a.m. where he'll start asking you questions and he's like, "Why aren't you responding to me?" And I'm like, "Because none of us are awake at this ungodly
This
hour."
does not happen. This is
not the way it works.
Thank you so much for watching, Alexis. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
for
you very
having
much.
me,
So much. It
guys.
was a
I had
blast.
It's
such
been
a
a
great
pleasure.
time.
We like you more than Tim. You should probably sub in
Oh,
for
that's
Tim.
not true.
It's
the
true.
pure one. Need a little filth in here.
All right.
Gotta get a little dirty
All
once in
right.
a while.
Until next time, we'll see you later. Portillo, stop eating that.